I wanted to take a minute and talk to you a little bit about Burt Reynolds and what kind of impact he had to me in the film industry. You know, when I was a kid, I watched, obviously, I was born in 1975, so I watched movies like Smokey and the Bandit, The Cannonball Run. There was a great movie named Hooper that used to play all the time on HBO when I was a kid, and it was all about the life of stuntmen, and they did all these crazy things. Jan Michael Vincent was in it, pre-Airwolf, you know, before he really hit the scene. James Best was in it, who played Roscoe P. Coltrane on the Dukes of Hazzard, and it was just a really fun movie. I mean, it had the same spirit, the same camaraderie of movies like Smokey and the Bandit and The Cannonball Run. You know, the heavier films that Burt did, like Deliverance. I like that film, but it wasn't what made me like Burt Reynolds. It was the funness, the comedy. Burt was an accomplished director. He directed quite a few movies. One of his earlier films he directed was called Gator, which actually that and then the Smokey and the Bandit, they filmed a lot in the state of Georgia. And they kind of put Georgia on the film map. And it's crazy because I was working for a special effects company not too long ago, and I was in Georgia, and we went to Screen Gem Studios, which was the old state fairgrounds, and they had purchased the old state fairgrounds and turned them into a movie studio. So I'm looking around. We were there working with Stranger Things, season 2, and I was there and I'm looking around and something just looked familiar about this place. So then I started talking to the guy who runs the studio there, and he was like, "Oh yeah, no, this is the scene at the end of the Smokey and the Bandit when all the cars and everything, and they deliver the beer and they come into the place. This is the place." And when I looked around, it all was like so familiar. You could see the buildings all around and everything. You're like, "Yeah, this was where they shot Smokey and the Bandit." So that was really cool. And so yeah, you know, it's really sad that he's gone. 82 years is a long time. His first stuff that he did was television, Gunsmoke, things like that. I think his first thing, from what I read, was 1958. He was on a TV show in 1958. So, I mean, Burt's been in this thing a long time, and not to mention Evening Shade and BL Stryker, all his TV shows that he did. It would be fun for people to check out some of his older work, especially like new people that are just coming on the scene, kids in their 20s and early 30s that really weren't impacted by, with someone like me who's 43 years old, someone who was not impacted by Burt Reynolds and, seeing things as a young kid in reruns and stuff. So, Smokey the Bandit had some really awesome people in it. Jackie Gleason played the sheriff. You had Jerry Reed, playing Snowman, the Snowman, and he had Fred was the dog. And it was such a good movie. The second one was okay. I think they made a third one with just Jerry Reed, where he was literally driving like the Knight Rider car. Like it was that the Pontiac Trans Am had been kind of transformed over time as the new movies came out. And I think that was the one, or I don't know if they made a Smoking the Bandits 4. I kind of gave up after 2. I mean, I liked the first 2 and the rest I just kind of like, eh. But it was really good stuff. And, if you didn't want a Firebird, a black Trans Am with the Firebird on top. I mean, if you didn't want that back in the day, like, you were crazy. I mean, there were 2 cars that kids wanted back in the 70s and early 80s. It was the General Lee and it was the Bandit. And those are the 2 cars, man. I mean, that's it. They want to see him jump. They want to see him do all these kind of things and get away from the police. And so, yeah, it was just a really good set of movies. Now with the Cannonball Run, same thing, but it was the first time that there was like a really big all-star cast put together. I mean, you had Dean Martin was in it playing a priest. Well, he wasn't really a priest, but him and Sammy Davis Jr. Were in a red Ferrari, and they were disguising themselves as priests. And you had Dom DeLuise playing Captain Chaos, and you had Farrah Fawcett was in that. Jackie Chan. It was Jackie Chan's first American movie where they had this Japanese car that had the turbo boost and all that kind of stuff. It was all tricked out with the electronics, and they spoke like, I guess, like Mandarin most of the movie. I think that's what they were speaking. I might be wrong with that, but it was all subtitled. And anytime they were on the scene, and they had the big fight battle, and Peter Fonda was in it. Roger Moore was in it with the James Bond car, the original Goldfinger, the DB5. And I mean, it was just like, it was such a good movie to have all these people in it. Adrienne Barbeau was in it. She was driving the Lamborghini. It was just so much fun. And what's the best part about the Cannonball Run was watching the outtakes at the end, which I think as a kid, that was the first time I'd ever seen outtakes done when the credits were going, where they had a window pop up and they were just showing the bloopers. And they had a blast making this movie. I mean, absolutely a blast. And you could see Burt Reynolds' love for what he was doing and how much passion he had, and the camaraderie between the cast and all that. It was just such a good movie. And I feel like I'm gonna pop in the Cannonball Run and watch that in honor of Burt. As far as like his later films, I mean, the guy's constantly worked, and popping up here and there and little things, the role of Boogie Nights. I wasn't a big fan of the movie Boogie Nights, so it wasn't on my radar. I did see it, but I just wasn't really into it. And, I really wished he would have won the Oscar that year. I remember watching it and seeing him go when he didn't get it and all that. And that just goes to show you, like, he really was passionate about what he did, and thought that after all these years of being in the film industry, that was going to be the one that would be the pinnacle of the career, was to get the Oscar. And it kind of slipped right out of his grasp there. But man, what a great career. What a great guy. I know you've seen interviews over the years where he was really in love with Sally Field, and except he was a little bit of a drinker and a little bit of a womanizer, and back in the day. And he said his biggest regret his entire life was letting Sally Field slip through his fingers. And you got to admire him for that. And it's kind of sad when you think about Smokey and the Bandit, because all the lead stars now, Jackie Gleason, Jerry Reed, Burt Reynolds, Sally Field's like the only one left. I'm not sure if the guy who played the son of the sheriff is still alive, but I mean, it's like the main stars, like, everyone's almost gone from that film. And so it's really kind of sad when you think about it. But look, we've got these, they're immortal. We can always go back and watch these films. We can always go back and stream their television shows. And that's the beauty about cinema. That's the beauty about filmmaking, is that you can always go back and watch these people, and hopefully generations and generations can have the same kind of impact with this. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Burt Reynolds. He had a great impact on me as a person, as far as like watching his movies as a kid. And so it's sad that he's gone, but I hope he's resting well. Anyway, so if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, drop some comments below, tell me about some of your favorite Burt Reynolds moments, and if you like this channel, subscribe.